What's going on, guys? So today I'm on the Magic Warden. Now this is on the PTS, so this is on the live server. Just keep that in mind. A few things I haven't been explaining too well in my previous two videos. The reason why I have so much spell damage now is because of the changes. They basically added 1,000 weapon and spell damage to your character once you hit level 50, as well as a lot of champion point passives that give you weapon and spell damage. So it actually scales a lot better now, but the drawback is we lost, the direct damage from the champion point system. So that's honestly gonna, or even Thaumaturge. There is still some aspects of Thaumaturge, but it's not as potent as it once was. It's only like 10%. So a lot of things have changed. That's why the max stats look so much different now. So I just want to give that like as a note, because even if the game changes, with the stats wise, it's may not even change the game entirely. I think that one thing that this is going to do is it's going to fix the proc meta that we have, at least to a certain extent. You're not going to have 40k health wardens that can run Vatron and basic an icy conjurer and melt your health bar without even basically dealing any damage other than just the proc sets. So I think that's one thing that's going to fix this, but that's like a little caveat I wanted to explain. So on the Magic Warden, I play this class pretty often, but recently, since the lack of a stun, I've really not played it. I feel like with the max stat meta coming out, this could broaden the aspect of how we play the game. It's not going to necessarily require you to have a on top of the line stun, especially when your damage is so high. So that I think that's the weakness of Magic Warden is just not having a stun. But with the meta, the max stats coming out, they really do benefit from having a lot of max magic, and it's honestly seems like a pretty good way of the game to go. You can focus on one thing, you can focus on max magic, basically broadening it, because back in the day, I mean, max magic used to be king and like no spell damage, low spell damage on magic classes. But now with the the changes to the adding the 1,000 weapon and spell damage, this could end up making spell damage more valuable than max magic. We'll have to see how it plays out in the coming months, but that's kind of what my presumption of everything that's changing. So let's get into the gear first. So we are running the Master's Perfected Lightning Staff. Now, I do think this is going to be the best. You could run the Flame Staff if you wanted to, but I think having the AoE damage from the Lightning Staff is far, far too important. You do really lack a stun, though. Magic Warden is basically just an AoE monster. It's really not supposed to single target people out. It's supposed to, kill people in a group. I think Nirnhone may be the best trait this patch, because the scaling of spell damage, you really want the spell damage as high as you can get it, especially with the Master's Lightning Staff. So Sharpen could be good as well, but or even Infused. But I think with the changes to the elemental expert, I think Infused could really receive a huge nerf, because as you can see, the damage on that shock glyph is not too high, like at all. It used to be like 3.5 without anything changing. So I don't know how that's what's wrong with that. There could be a bug, I'm not sure. But on the back bar, we are running the Maelstrom's Perfected Resto Staff. This did receive a little bit of a nerf with the spell crit, but honestly, I don't think it's too big of a deal, because this is just passive recovery. You could do trainee back here if you wanted to, but I run the Arctic Blast on the front bar to give a little bit more reliability of the stun. But this just gives you passive recovery whenever you hit rapid regen. You could run Sword and Board here, but I really don't think Sword and Board is really going to be too good anymore. After the nerf to the Bulwark passive, you have to invest in it now and slot it. So it's honestly, I don't think it's really worth it, and I think you can benefit more from the rapid regen. Monster set, we're running Balor. I think this is going to be the best monster set, at least for right now. Scoria could be good, but I think just giving you that extra penetration, especially when we're not running Sharpen on our staff, or I mean, the only penetration we have really is from the light armor, the CP, and from our deep fissure. That's really it. So we're not getting penetration from anything else. So I think this is going to be the best bet, at least for magic classes, and also the spell and weapon damage scaling a little bit better now, because it's actually kind of important. So Balor, I feel like it's going to be the best monster set, at least for Magic Warden at this moment. So for our body set, we are running Bright Throat. So you may wonder what this set is, never seen it before. I think this is going to be the new meta, because right around right now, I'm trying to apply what works right now to what may work in the future. So Bright Throat, we are using the Ghastly Eyeball food, right? And what this does is this is a drink, and it gives us Magicka and health recovery, or Magicka and magic recovery. So what this does is this gives us an insane amount of sustain as well as, you know, increasing our max stats. See, you could run, you know, Necropotence here if you wanted to, but I feel like running this gives us enough sustain. Now, Necropotence could be the option. It could be even Crafty Alpha Leak. I mean, but you obviously would want to run Necropotence over Crafty because it gives more stats, especially on a Magden. But I'm running this just to test it out. I think with the Ghastly Eyeball food paired with it, we can actually get a lot of resources. I mean, we're getting 167 recovery from just the 5-piece. So this is going to be different than, you know, Crafty Alpha Leak or Necropotence would give you. As well as we're getting the 2000 magic. But I think Necropotence could be good here, but I just prefer the Bright Throat. I think at the moment, I have to be more testing though, and just seeing where the chips fall in the new meta. So we are running 5 light and 2 heavy. I feel like this is going to be the best because this offsets, the 2 heavy offsets some of the drawbacks for light armor. So we're running tri-stack glyphs on the big pieces and Magicka on the smalls. And then for our jewelry, we're running Ancient Grace, all arcane and all spell damage. So this is going to beef up our max stats. What you could do is, if you wanted to, what I would maybe try is if max stats aren't really the king anymore, what you could do is you could run Balor with Clever Alchemist on the back bar. I feel like that'd be pretty decent. And you get a lot of spell damage at that point. So I mean, you still have decent max, but you'd be losing out on this Ancient Grace, which could be decent. It actually probably could be better because, you know, your health would be a lot higher. So it's just a few thoughts, but I really prefer the max stats. I mean, I love having, you know, this is obviously unbuffed stats. I mean, as you can see, I have 48,000 magic, 27,000 health, 14k stam. So the stats aren't too bad. The recovery is nice. We're not running even the Atron Luck Mundus Stone, so we have 1900 recovery, which is very, very good for Magic Warden. It honestly could be over sustaining, and if it is, you know, in the live patch, then I'll definitely drop the Bright Throat for something else. But I feel like this Ghastly Eyeball food paired with Bright Throat, I think, is a very, very good pairing and option. So let's look at the buff stats real quick. So we have 6,174 spell damage. So this is with Balor fully procced with the light attack buff and the Master's Lightning. And this is obviously with the potion as well. So we have 6.1k, almost 6.2k spell damage. We have 54,621 magic. The reason why our magic goes up is because of Northern Storm. It's going to give you the max stats for 30 seconds after you use the ultimate, which is absolutely crazy. So it gives you 15% more magic. So it's honestly pretty bonkers. We have 2.4k, almost 2.5k magic recovery, which is absolutely crazy. That's way enough sustain, I think. We have 1,000 stam recovery. Our resistances are a little low, but I feel like when you're trying to do a lot of damage, you really kind of have to play that way. You just got to use your environment to kite around and, you know, try to stay alive. Our penetration is decent with Balor, but again, remember we do have Deep Fissure, so our spell pins right around, you know, 11,000 or so. So this is just flat spell pin, you know, just base, but, you know, with the Deep Fissure up, we'll be getting more penetration. So actuality, you'll have 21,000 spell pin on a Magden with Deep Fissure up, but that's kind of too clickbaity, and I don't want to, you know, basically sell the build too much. So honestly, the stats are great. So you know, here I just want to show you guys my just, you know, chilling stats. I don't want to, you know, inflate the numbers too much, but, you know, just chilling here. We're at 4.4k spell damage, 48,000 maximum magic, and 29,000, almost 30,000 health. Our stamina is a little low, but the reason why that is because we don't have enough champion points really to benefit from it. We could get around 15,000 stamina, I think, and I think that's gonna be plenty enough for, you know, somebody who 1vx's and uses tripods. So I'll go in through the consumables again. So we're running the Ghastly Eyeball food, and then we have the Mage Mundus Stone. Now this could change to the Lover. All just depends on, you know, how the meta shifts. But I think the mage is best, you know, just to give you that extra max magic. So for our race, we are a high elf. Now I think high elf is the best race at the moment. I think Breton could be a close second option. Depending on the build you make, I think Breton could be better with the Clever Alchemist setup though, because you get the recovery and the cost reduction. So then you can still use the Ghastly Eyeball food with a Breton and give you some insane stats. I think that could even be better, but it all just depends on your playstyle. This is just what I think could be good on Magden right now. So I think High Elf is just the best overall option, just to, you know, slap it on and get as much damage as you can. Bretons are a very close second though. I think just for this overall sustain, the max magic, and the cost reduction, I think is just absolutely amazing. But the high elf gives us more spell damage, which could be king in the next meta. Just trying to scale as much spell damage as possible. But we get 2,000 magic, and we get sustain actually, for using an ability every 6 seconds. So this basically gives you, I think, close to 50-60 recovery. But the thing I do like about the high elf over the Breton though is that I can get magicka or stamina, whichever my thing is the lowest. So if I have like 2k stamina, so if I have like less stamina than magic, that means I'm gonna get 600 stamina, which is honestly very good, especially for solo play, because resource management is a must. So I think that's why I prefer high elf at the moment. But we'll just have to see and test, see where the meta falls again. But that's what I believe is the best races for Magic Warden. So let's check out the skills. So shot clinch. This used to be an amazing skill. It still is, to a certain extent. But the Master's Lightning used to really buff it a lot more than it does. So I think that shot clinch is still okay. But I miss the stun, honestly. I really do miss the stun on that. And then when they took that away, then we had the vampire stun, and which was awesome. But now the vampire CC, the stupefy or whatever, is absolutely terrible. So we run shot clinch on the front bar. This buffs our spell damage through the Master Lightning Staff. Defissure, this is your bread and butter timeable burst. It hits very hard, and it gives them reduces their resistances by almost 6,000 for 6 seconds, which is a good amount of penetration. Arctic Blast, this is your main heal, burst heal, and stun. I really don't like this skill because of this. It works, but it's just not as good as I want it to. I wish the radius was a little bit bigger. If the radius was a little bit more, like maybe 8 to 10 meters, I feel like it would be a lot better. But I just feel like I gotta be brought up on somebody to stun them, and it's honestly annoying. So if you were to run the fire staff, obviously you'd have shot clinch here. So what I would suggest, or flame clinch. So what I would suggest to do in that regard is to run the force pulse, run crushing shock, and I would put that here where the Arctic Blast is. But I do prefer having the stun from Arctic Blast because it's AoE based, and flame clinch is single target. You gotta go full sweat mode to actually pull off a combo. So I think flame clinch is just overall better for Magic Warden just because of the AoE damage. We have Bird of Prey. This gives us the speed and the Minor Berserk. I really mainly use this for the speed because Magic Warden is one of the only classes that can actually move around pretty quickly, besides Magsork. So this is a nice change of pace, playing other Magic classes, because Bird of Prey is absolutely amazing, and it gives you a little bit of extra damage. So next we're going back to the OG Inner Light. So this gives you basically max magic and spell crit. No, you really don't use this skill. It's just a buff. Back in the day, this used to give like a lot of magic, especially the more max magic you have, the more it increases it. So Inner Light's awesome. They're probably going to change this to just give a flat value in the future. So if they do, then this may end up getting dropped. It just depends. But the scaling of the percentage is far better than the a flat number. So they may even change Northern Storm. I don't know, but you basically get 20% more magic for just having these slotted, so it's actually kind of crazy amount of max. So this deals a lot of damage. It's also gives you major protection, so it's pretty good. But this thing hits pretty hard, and it's honestly very fun ultimate to use because it snares people around you, and it basically makes it easier to land the Arctic Blast. It does cost a little bit of ultimate though, 200. It's not cheap, but it's still manageable. I really love this ultimate though. It's awesome. And then back bar, we're running Rapid Regeneration. This is your main. This is like a Magicka Vigor. It heals for a crazy amount, and it's probably one of the better skills in the game, because it basically makes it to where you can hit this and then swap to your front bar and still be getting healed without having to, because most Magic classes don't have a lot of overhealing. They have burst heals, and that's really it. So having Rapid Regeneration on a Magdin really helps a lot. Pairing that with like Living Trellis, when you take damage every 1 second you get healed, so that's honestly pretty good. Now here's a little bit of my opinion on it. So this skill right here, Budding Seeds, I think this is going to be best for outnumbered scenarios because you can put this down like when you're kiting around a wall, and you can get this burst heal after it procs for, I think it lasts like 6 seconds, and this burst heal isn't actually too bad. It heals for like 7,000. 7,200. That's actually not too bad. Because the reason why I have this on there is because now we don't have Arctic Blast on the back bar. So with Arctic Blast on the front bar, I mean, it still is a burst heal enough, but you need something else to pair with it. And this having a lot of overhealing, I mean, we got a lot of heals going on Magden with the Arctic Blast and then the Budding Seeds. I mean, that's a lot of ticks with rapid regeneration. That's some good, decent healing. And you can definitely, you know, kind of stay alive with that. So if things were to change, if you're running the Fire Staff, obviously you'd have Crushing Shock here, so you'd put Arctic Blast back here instead of Budding Seeds. There are a few options. If we were to ever drop Inner Light, what we probably do would be running this Lotus Flower and morph it to Lotus Blossom, which gives us healing and gives us see, as you see here, my spell crit is 17%. We pop this and we get 29% spell crit. So this is gonna be on both bars as well. I don't have, it's because of it's because of the Maelstrom Resto Staff. That's why we have more critical. So this is gonna give you, you know, whenever you light attack, this is gonna heal you, and whenever you heavy attack, it's gonna heal you as well. So this could be a very, very good option in your back bar if they do change Inner Light in the future. But for now, I think even Dampen could be an option. I may even end up running Dampen. It just depends. But the problem with Dampen is we don't have enough resistances to really benefit from it. So Dampen couldn't probably not be an option. I think it's just going to be overhealing with trying to get as much heals as you can. I think it's going to be the best option. If you have a problem stunning with Arctic Blast, there is a saving grace. So this is also another option as well. You can put Arctic Blast in the back bar and then run this Gripping Shards. What this does is it's going to snare people that get close to you, and it's going to basically freeze them in place. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but you're mainly using it for the snare, so your Arctic Blast can stun right afterwards. So you know, that's another option. But I think that just overall, you're only really going to kill somebody whenever you stun them, and if you can time that up with Arctic Blast. See, having Arctic Blast on your front bar makes it to where you have a burst heal. This makes it where you have to swap to your back bar just to do a stun. So that's why I have the Arctic Blast on front with Budding Seeds on back, because I think the best thing is to have a bar that does offense and a bar that does defense. So if your stun's on your back bar and you get really forced on it, you can't go offensive ever. So that's kind of the reason why I have this bar set up the way I do. So that's it for the skills. Also a little editing note. So the reason why I run the Lightning Staff over a Fire Staff is because of the AoE damage you get from equipping a Lightning Staff. So this increases your damage done with area of effect attack abilities by 8%. So meaning that our Deep Fissure is going to get buffed, our Arctic Blast is going to get buffed, and our Northern Storm is going to get buffed, and our Shock Clench. So obviously everything is going to be basically AoE damage. It's going to basically nuke people. So that's why I run the Lightning Staff. Shock Clench also basically deals damage in an AoE to all enemies near the initial target. So that's kind of why I run the Lightning Staff. So now let's get into champion points. So again, the green tree really doesn't make a difference for PvP, but the blue and the red tree really do. So let's get into the blue tree. So again, let me explain this. So if you'll see the stars, you see how bright these are. Like these stars, these are called slottables, and then these right here are the dimmer stars. They are called passives. So basically you don't slot these at all. The dimmer stars, these are basically, you just put points into it and you get resources out of it, or whatever it is. But for the slottables, you have to slot this. So you can only have 4 slottables at a time, as you'll see at the top of my bar or here. See, why did it go over here? So we only have 4. We have Biting Aura, we have Duelist Rebuff, we have the Untamed Aggression, and Arcane Supremacy. So this is Arcane Supremacy, so this gives us max magic. The Untamed Aggression gives us weapon and spell damage. I think the Biting Aura is going to be better because this gives us increased damage to our AoE attacks, and Deadly Aim gives you single target attacks. All of our damage on Magic Warden is AoE, so I think maxing this out as soon as you can is going to be the best. Also keep in mind, I do have 810 champion points on the PTS, so meaning we don't have max everything. We can't really invest into all the points we can. This is just the ideal setup in the direction that I would go as you get more champion points. And then the last one is going to be Duelist Rebuff. This is going to reduce our damage taken from single target attacks. So this is going to be I think one of the better ones as of right now. When I do get more champion points, I'm probably going to go into Reaving Blows instead of this, because this is going to basically heal us whenever we deal damage. So I think it's going to be the better option. So now let's get into the passives. So now that you know the slottables, so we're going to go through here first. This is going to be the Magicka version. So we're basically putting 50 points into here to get them more magic. And then we have Bless to give us a little bit more healing. Obviously max this out as soon as you can. And these as well. I think Magic Warden really benefits from healing over time and burst healing, single target heals. They're both very, very good. I don't think the Soothing Tide, other than the, the Budding Seeds, is really going to buff this. So this could be the last resort to, upgrade this one. So now let's go this way. Actually, let's check out this thing. So this thing is called a subcategory. There's 2 of them in the blue tree. Basically just spreads the tree out more and gives you more options and more passives pretty much. So we have the Healing Taken, which is okay. It's just going to increase your healing to yourself, but not to others. So, because that's the difference in healing. Healing Done is healing to yourself and others. Healing Taken is healing from people and to yourself. You can't heal for more for having Healing Taken to other people. I know it's kind of confusing, and Zenimax doesn't explain that too well. Okay, so these passives right here, the Hardy one and the Elemental Aegis, obviously max these out when you can, because this is basically just going to make you a lot tankier. This is going to reduce your damage taken from magical attacks by 5% at max, so honestly pretty good. It'll offset the drawbacks and stuff from heavy and light armor. So you do have to invest into Staving Death to even get to this Duelist rebuff. So this actually isn't too bad. Just makes you a little bit tankier is all. So the next one, we have Tireless Discipline. This gives us 260 stamina per stage. So this is a passive rather than a slottable. There is a slottable one. It's right here. This gives us max stamina. So honestly, you could end up dropping this one, and if you didn't need the Reaving Blows, you could just slot extra stamina and get more max stats. So it could be an option in that direction as well. But this one, basically you just get free stamina. So whenever we get to max stamina, like whenever we get this maxed out, we're going to be getting 1300 stamina. So we'll be right around 15,000 fully maxed. So that's kind of why the stats don't look as good with the max stamina. But I think 15k stamina for one of the extra is plenty enough, at least in in the current meta. It could shift actually, after the PTS goes live, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. This is just what I think is going to be the best at the moment, trying to pair up what we have right now and what works in the current patch to what works in the PTS. So next we have the Piercing. This is the damage one. This is the damage subcategory. So this gives us offensive penetration. Obviously you will max this out when you can. This one gives you the magical status effects. So this increases the chance to proc it. This pertains to the Magicka, the new Magicka status effect. This pertains to the Shock, the Frost, all of those, which honestly is actually pretty good because Magic Wardens get increased critical damage whenever they proc the chilled status effect. So it actually could be really, really good. And then we have the War Mage. This gives us weapon and spell damage to our magical attacks. Basically just buffs it. And then we have obviously the Binding Aura. So that's all for the blue tree. So when I was explaining the Ice Staff thing, so this is the Bulwark passive that it's basically been gutted. You have to slot this and invest points into it. So it's going to be kind of annoying to get to. But I think honestly, Sword and Board and Ice Staff on the back bar, because this only really affects those bars. So if you were double barring Ice Staff, then it would be a different story. But I think, honestly, this isn't really going to help you too much at all. Like now, because it's literally impossible to get to, especially with 810 champion points. You really only be able to get here once you get right around probably close to 2,000, because you actually have a lot of points to diversify and get the bonuses out of. But that's all for the blue tree. This is what I would run if I had 810 champion points to get the most bang for my buck and try to make the best build possible. So now let's check out the red tree. So again, these are the brighter stars. So these are the slottables, and these are the dimmer stars, which are the passives. So we have Boundless Vitality. This gives us more health. This is the reason why we can run the Ghastly Eyeball Food. So next we have Ironclad. This gives us armor per stage. This gives us up to 1730 armor, which isn't too bad. Ironclad used to be a lot better. But since the nerf, I think with the sheets of champion points and stuff, We'll have to see how this shakes down, but I think these 3 are going to be the meta. So this Violence, Vitality, Ironclad, and Rejuvenation. This is going to give you Magicka and Stamina Recovery. So I think this is probably going to be the best 3 right here to really use in any build, I think. And the only outlier is going to be this one, the Peace of Mind one. This gives you Magicka and health recovery while you're immune to crowd control. So this basically means whenever you have been stunned and knocked down on the ground and you CC break, you get 40 extra Magicka and health recovery after you CC break, and you get the crowd control immunity. So this one is probably the flex spot. For stamina builds, you're going to be using the Unchained more than likely. But for magic builds, there is a few options. I think this one's probably going to be the better one. This gives you more sustain. So, I mean, Harden could be decent to increase the duration of the crowd control. Or it's going to be the Juggernaut, which, while immune to crowd control, you take 2% less damage per stage. So this is going to give you a 10% damage reduction while you are stunned. So I think it's pretty good, just to give you a little bit more tankiness. But Peace of Mind is just going to give you more recovery. I think eventually, probably Juggernaut's probably going to be the next meta. But this just gives you more sustain. So I think it's probably going to be very, very good. So now let's get into the passives. So Defiance, obviously you're going to max this out as soon as you can, but I don't have a lot of champion points, and I'm trying to get the the most ideal stats that you're going to have on the live server with the PTS. So this is obviously going to go up more. Next we have Tumbling. This is going to, obviously you're going to increase this up to the max amount that you can, but this is going to just reduce the cost of roll dodge. So Mystic Tenacity, this is going to reduce the duration of elemental status effects applied to you, which is okay. It's basically just going to make it to where the burning status effect is shorter. These are the only reason why I invested into this, is just to get to this Hero's Vigor, because this gives us the health. So this gives us 1400 health, and then the Slaughtable one gives us 1400. So we're getting a total of 2800 health for just these 2 passives alone. So it's actually it's really, really good. I think these are going to get nerfed to a little bit, maybe just drop it down some, because you shouldn't be able to get 30,000 health on a build that has no health bonuses other than armor glyphs and whatnot. And that's all for the red tree. So I don't have any block cost reduction because I don't have enough champion points at the moment, but as I get more champion points, max these out as much as you can. The passives are the most important to get after you get your 4 Slaughterables. So just be investing in these. I think the next obviously one I'm going to go for is going to get the reduced cost of block. You really don't need the reduce the cost of bash, really. Maybe not even the increased movement speed. So I think this is going to be the most important one after you get more champion points. But that's all for the red tree. Just remember to invest into as you get more champion points, remember to invest into the passives. So now into the green tree. So this one is not important whatsoever, really. But the only 2 that I really could say, or 3 actually, I forgot about this one. So the only 3 I think are important is going to be the break fall. This reduces your damage taken from fall damage, which is very, very good for PvP because jumping off of roofs all the time, jumping off of castles, jumping down, trying to get line of sight, you're going to take some fall damage. So reducing any damage you can take is a blessing, honestly. Now we have Steadfast Enchantment. This reduces the decay of your enchantment. It helps a little bit, not having to recharge it all the time. So yeah, that's one thing that helps PvP a little bit. And maybe this Rationer increases the food duration and drink per stage. And then we have the Liquid Efficiency. This is going to basically, whenever you pop a potion, or proc a poison, you have a 10% chance not to use it. And then the Steed's Blessing, this basically just gives you movement speed outside of combat. I don't actually know how this works exactly. I don't even feel like it works, so I don't know. But that's really it for the champion points. Just keep in mind, again, I didn't explain this too well, but the saving death and the basically the subcategories, they're going to be added to all of the champion point systems, so this could be even added before the patch drops. And if that's the case, then it's going to be a lot harder to invest points into the red tree, because then at that point, just imagine if these weren't here, I would have an extra 70 CP points. Obviously they would go into something else, but if I didn't have these 2, then I would have 70 more champion points to invest in out here. So that's why the red tree looks a little bit better, is because you have more points to go around because you don't have the subcategories. But you know, that's all for this build. I think I'm gonna be playing Magden a lot, or at least some max stat builds. You know, Magblade, in the coming patch. The only problem again I see with Magden is the Arctic Blast. The stun isn't too good, so it's kind of annoying, to be honest. So there maybe is an option, but I don't think it's really worth it. It's to run this time freeze, but it's so slow and it's not very timeable at all. So that's really it for the build, guys. Magic Warden I feel like will be better next patch. I don't know if it's gonna be top tier like you know, Magplar, because Magplar has a very good stun, but Magic Warden could be very good in group play. Like honestly, very good in group play, especially, you know, with 2 or 3 people. Having the, you know, the AoE monster that Magic Warden is with the shot clench, and having the support healing as well with the, you know, the budding seeds and rapid regen and vines. Magic Warden could be a very good option in group play, but maybe for solo play it's gonna be rough because you don't have a good stun. But you know, overall Magic Warden I feel like is gonna be pretty good next patch. I think the max stats are really gonna help it out a lot. But you know, that's really it for me, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.